Hey everybody, it's Skyler with Utah Seniors Home Search. Today we're going to be going over the pros and cons of living in a 55 plus community. So if you're considering moving into a 55 plus community, or you have a relative or loved one that is, this video is for you. We're going to cover all the ins and outs that you need to understand to make an informed decision. So buckle up, watch the video, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and that helps to push this content out to more people so we can help more people just like you and those that you care about. So before we get started, some of you may be wondering, what is a 55 plus community? There are a lot of different levels of senior housing. There's assisted living, there is comprehensive care, independent living, there's continuing care, retirement communities, CCRCs. And so there's a lot of people don't know the difference between those things and a 55 plus community. So here's what a 55 plus community is. It's an age restricted community. Oftentimes, and most of the time, it's a single level community that is managed by an HOA. It's free of stairs, yard maintenance, exterior maintenance of the home is all taken care of by the HOA. It's meant to be a very maintenance free situation for the homeowner and for the retiree. So that's what a 55 plus community is. What it typically isn't is a place where there is a care component, a healthcare component. So a 55 plus community isn't typically a place where you're going to see a registered nurse that manages CNAs that cater to the residents and help them with medication management. A lot of the times a home health company can come into the community and do some of those things, but that's not the purpose of a community. So 55 plus communities are typically built for seniors who are a little bit more independent and who don't necessarily have the need for some of that health care that you might find in other levels of senior housing. So with that understood, let's jump into the pros of being in a 55 plus community. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with the pros. The first pro being an active lifestyle. 55 plus communities promote active lifestyle by being super amenity rich. Many of them have pools, pickleball courts, different things where seniors who are a little more active, need less care, can go and congregate, get together, get to know one another, and enjoy an active lifestyle together. They often have walking trails that are maintained by the HOA, parks, common areas, and they're meant to really foster a sense of camaraderie and community with the residents. So the active lifestyle is something that a lot of seniors really like. It's not for everybody, but that's one of the pros of being in a 55 plus community. If you like to socialize, if you like to be engaged, most of them have activity programs, senior programming, where people have, yoga classes, or there'll be an art group, people that do crafts, people that sew together, people that play bingo together, and then people come in and do seminars and different things to educate seniors on the different challenges that they face in their retirement. So there's a lot of different programming for 55 plus that's sort of included in a lot of the communities. Now each community is different. However, that active lifestyle and all of that programming and that togetherness is one of the things 55 plus communities in general try to promote. The second pro is low maintenance living. Although seniors are active and a lot of them don't need health care, they still don't want to be spending all their time mowing their lawn or maybe taking care of a garden or doing all those things that they've done their whole lives as they've kind of worked their whole lives. A lot of them want to relax and pursue more leisurely activities, hobbies, things that they can enjoy. So a 55 plus community is set up to facilitate that. So the 55 plus communities will often take care of the yards. And again, this is generally true, but they'll take care of the yards, the maintenance of the shrubbery around the homes. Oftentimes there's allowance for small garden beds. However, in general, 55 plus communities from the outside are taken care of and managed by a landscaping company who is paid by the HOA to do so. Same with the exterior maintenance of the home. So whether the home needs, power washing every spring, or they're cleaning out gutters, they're taking care of, dings in the concrete, or mailboxes that are, wearing and tearing, stuff that they don't want to put the burden of on the homeowner. The HOA covers those things, generally speaking, in a 55 plus community as well. So they're really meant to be very maintenance free and to give the senior as much opportunity as possible to relax, to enjoy, and to be in the community without having to focus on those little stressors that end up being bigger stressors for seniors that maybe have a little bit more hard time physically. The next pro that we're going to talk about is a strong sense of community. So we touched on this briefly, but in 55 plus communities, the whole community is kind of built around getting people together. So other than it being an age-restricted community, which in itself offers a strong sense of camaraderie and community because you've got shared life experiences with people your age. It's a lot easier to connect with people that grew up in the same time period and have shared experiences, have kids the same age, grandkids the same age. That age restriction ends up being a really big deal for people that are looking in senior communities and 55 plus communities because they end up making great friends that last them throughout the rest of their life. So the next pro that I'm going to talk about is safety and security in 55 plus communities. Most 55 plus communities are equipped with a gate. They're gated communities with, keypad entry systems or remote entry systems that provide for more exclusivity, safety, security for the residents. And additionally, they're typically built in accessible locations where they're built close to healthcare facilities that are either on site or nearby. And a lot of the time, they're built around assisted livings and other levels of senior housing, so people can kind of stay close to home when they need to move down the continuum, the next line of senior housing and the continuum of care. And finally, the final pro that we're going to talk about is amenities and services offered by 55 plus communities. So we kind of have touched on all these things lightly, but 55 plus communities are really geared toward enjoyment of retirement. So oftentimes within your HOA fee that you pay for, there will be a pool and a clubhouse that's rentable by the residents that can be used for parties, get-togethers, bringing the family over. You can rent those things out, and that's included with your HOA. They often have pickleball courts. I've seen a lot lately with golf simulators and bocce ball and different activities that really enhance the ability of the senior to enjoy retirement. So the amenities are huge. That's another thing in addition to the maintenance that is covered typically by 55 plus communities and enhances and enriches the life of seniors. All right, now we're going to jump into the cons of living in a 55 plus community. They're definitely not for everybody. There are things that you should know if you are planning on moving into a 55 plus community, things that may be a challenge to you, things that may restrict you more than you want to be restricted. So the first one is probably the most obvious, but it's still worth mentioning, the age restriction, right? All these communities, you have to be 55 plus. Typically, there are a few exceptions. A lot of the communities allow for the homeowner to be 55 plus. However, they can have a member of their family that is living with them that's younger. Oftentimes there's a limit on how many people that are not 55 plus that can live in the home. Usually it's one person that can live in the home. Another situation that presents a challenge for seniors is if they have a grandchild living with them. Most 55 plus communities don't allow somebody 18 or younger. Some do, and a lot of 55 plus communities also have an allowance for, usually they call it the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the homeowners have to be 55 plus and 20% can be below that 55 plus mark. But if you fall out of that 80-20 threshold, that presents a challenge if you do have grandchildren living with you, or if you're a homeowner less than 55 plus. So this kind of varies HOA to HOA. It's important to work with a professional like me who specializes in 55 plus communities and who's familiar with the different rules and regulations of each 55 plus community, because I can guide you every step of the way, make sure that your specific situation is going to fit within the confines of each individual HOA. And that's a pretty good segue into the second con of living in a 55 plus community, which is HOA fees. There are a lot of people who really, really don't like paying an HOA. And this can be a con for a number of reasons. An HOA, you have to know what you're getting with the HOA. If you're not somebody who's into the bells and whistles of a 55 plus community, who doesn't necessarily want all of the programming or the amenities that are typically offered by a 55 plus community, you can opt out of those if you find the right community. And oftentimes those HOA fees are going to be lower because there are less activities, common areas for the HOA to manage. So make sure if you're looking in a 55 plus community, you talk to me. I can point you in the right direction. Other challenges that the HOA can present is many 55 plus, many seniors are operating on fixed incomes. So if your HOA fee goes up to cover a special project within the community, a lot of the times that's a hit that fixed incomes can't take. Now, of course, there are different ways to mitigate that. We've talked about home equity conversion mortgages on this channel before, and I'll link that video right here. So you can check out the video about home equity conversion mortgages. That can mitigate the challenges posed by having HOA fees on a fixed income. However, that is a consideration if you're going to pay cash on a fixed income to buy a 55 plus community, or you're going to be financing. Any costs that are variable versus your fixed income can present that challenge. So definitely be aware of HOA fees and talk to me if you're not sure what each HOA covers and, sure of the financial health of the HOA, such that they may increase those fees over time. So the next pro that we're going to talk about is the potential for resale challenges. So because it's an age-restricted community, there can be challenges with the market because you're selling not to the general public, but you're selling to a specific demographic. So a lot of people can be worried that, there's not as big of a market for my home. Typically speaking, in general, maybe 55 plus homes sit on the market a little bit longer than a home that is not age-restricted. So that's something that needs to be considered when you're buying a 55 plus community home. They're a little bit more susceptible to changes in demographics over time, changes in economic conditions over time because of that age restriction. Now, one bright spot of the age restriction is that you've got a baby boomer wave, a huge one for the next 15 to 20 years. So in the near term, 55 plus communities are a great bet. The potential for resale is a great bet. And you can pretty much bank on the marketability of those homes for 15 to 20 years to come, at least. The fourth con that we're going to talk about is the limited diversity of 55 plus communities. So for some people, the age restriction is a bad thing. They don't want to be around people of the same age, or they don't want to be in a situation at least where they're restricted to their neighbors only being that age, of a comparable age. A lot of people like having kids running around, hearing kids. So it really needs to be situational. If you need to take a look at your situation and figure out if that age restriction is something you want. Oftentimes those communities are a lot quieter than a typical community, and you need to decide if that's something you want. There are a lot of people that get into 55 plus communities and they go a little crazy going like, this is too quiet. This is too much peace, rest, and relaxation. I need to hear kids running around. And so it's up to the individual, and it's an important consideration to make. So the final con that we're going to talk about today are the rules and regulations of a 55 plus community. Many 55 plus communities are governed by the HOAs that set these codes, covenants, and restrictions, CC&Rs, in order to keep uniformity and consistency within the community. So this can be a good thing and a bad thing, right? Depends on your point of view. A lot of homeowners like that there is that uniformity, the consistency, that their neighbors aren't doing anything crazy because the HOA doesn't really permit that. So the con of that is that the HOA will often really restrict what you can do specifically to the exterior of your home. Making improvements to the exterior of your home is oftentimes a little bit more challenging than it would be in a normal single-family community, or even in a community, a townhome community. So you have to be aware from the get-go, if you plan to make improvements, making sure that those improvements will be accepted and allowed by the HOA. Oftentimes there's an approval process if you want to make amendments or improvements that you have to go through with the HOA in order to initiate that process. So be aware. Make sure from the jump that you do your due diligence, work with a professional who can help you do that due diligence, and make sure that you know what you can and can't do in abiding by those rules and regulations, codes, covenants, and restrictions that are delineated by the homeowners. So those are my pros and cons of living in a 55 plus community. Some of you may think I missed something. If you did, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to think, or what you think about my analysis of the pros and cons of living in a 55 plus community. Yeah, comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about our content, and keep watching our content. We appreciate it. So to recap, the pros of living in a 55 plus community are an active lifestyle, keeping it low maintenance, a strong sense of community with the community members, safety and security, and amenities. The cons, on the other hand, of living in a 55 plus community include age restrictions, HOA fees, potential resale challenges, limited diversity, and the rules and restrictions that you have to abide by. So as with anything, pros for some people may be cons to other people. It's hard to say. You may have been listening to some things that I said and think, whoa, that's not a pro, or that's not a con. That's the other one. And I love it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Share your own experiences with me. Share what you like and don't like about the thought of 55 plus communities. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Please, like, subscribe to the content. And I love helping people and talking to people, having this kind of dialogue with seniors. So additionally, this is what I do every day. So downsizing is my bread and butter. If you know somebody, or you yourself are downsizing out of your single family home, looking to get rid of stairs, looking to get rid of yard maintenance and exterior maintenance, and trying to have a more stress-free, worry-free retirement, give me a call. This is my number on the screen. Additionally, in the video description, you can find a list of all the 55 plus community homes available for sale in Utah County, Salt Lake County. Message me, give me a call if you'd like more info in other areas. I'm really well connected statewide, so I'd be happy to help. And that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.